Providing versus Loving, a Marvel fanfiction written on AO3 by Marvelous Lee 3000. The link for this fanfiction will be in the description box below, so I encourage you all to go check it out. Howard loved him. That's what Tony always convinced himself. If the man hadn't loved him, then he wouldn't have been provided for all those years. He wouldn't have bothered him at all, so he believes his father really did love him. Other people in Tony's circle, Pepper, Rhodey, and Happy, have different opinions on the eldest Stark. They see the way Tony locks his feelings up deep inside where he has trouble getting into. They see how he doesn't always take care of himself, barely sleeping, drinking, and just running himself ragged for the ones he loves. And he knows he craves acceptance for them, even if he would never admit it. They know he's the only one who lets very few people into his personal life and puts up walls to keep others out in order to protect himself, but most importantly, to protect those who did make it through. But above all, they know who instilled all of those anxious and self-deprecating behaviors, the same man that Tony believes loved him, Howard Stark. It is only until a certain spider comes into his life, making him rethink all the heavily guarded walls. He is in his bed, side by side with Pepper. She is reading a book, by the soft light of the bedside lamp. Tony is not reading anything, not even his phone. Pepper immediately picks up on his silence after 5 minutes of Tony just staring ahead, in deep thought. Are you all right? Her voice is gentle, not jarring, even though the room had only been dead silent a moment ago. The trance breaks and Tony shakes his head. Sorry, what? What's on your mind? She asks. She asks Tony. She places a bookmark on the left page and immediately places it on top of the mahogany nightstand beside her. Do you think I'm like Howard? No. The answer is immediate, and so immediate that it shocks Tony. Pepper softens her face and asks, Why? There is no judgment in her tone, just pure curiosity. It's stupid. Sorry. Tony shakes his head. This isn't the time to try and get his thoughts in order. This is the time he's trying to shake a thought out of his head, banish it from his brain. Honey, Pepper says, putting a comforting hand on his bare bicep. He's in a tank top. You are a lot of things, but stupid is not one of them, and neither are your thoughts. He gives her a smile and thanks. So, what's going on in that big brain of yours? It's just been weird. Lately, I've been thinking that I don't want to be the way Howard was to me, to Peter. Like, being my father would be bad, but that doesn't make any sense. My father loved me. His forehead creased with deep lines of visual conflict. Pepper doesn't know what to say. In everything she'd heard about Howard, she did not find any evidence of him loving Tony, and that in itself breaks her heart. She tries lightly. From what I heard about your father, I don't think he was a very nice man. What are you talking about? I mean, yes, he wasn't the nicest person ever, but he kept a roof on my head, kept me in clean clothes, kept me fed, paid for my education. He looked at his girlfriend with confused eyes, eyebrows furrowed. Tony opened the door. Pepper intended to use it, even if the conversation would be hard. There's a difference between providing and loving. But he loved me, otherwise he wouldn't provide for me, he said, in obvious denial. On some level, yes, she humors. But he wasn't much of a father figure from what I heard. Tony's face is still etched in confusion, so Pepper elaborates. The other day, when Peter got an A on his physics test, you were proud of him, right? Of course, he says, offended that she would ever think differently. Right, and you verbalized that to Peter, and you took him out to his favorite restaurant. Tony nods. Did your dad ever celebrate a grade of yours? The silence that ensues is the only answer she needs. His face is even more creased now, but not in confusion, it's in realization. Finally, he speaks up. No, but Jarvis did. Now, Jarvis is another story. Everything Pepper has heard about him, she likes. She thinks he was more of a father figure than Howard ever was to Tony. I'm glad he did, and you deserved it. But he wasn't your father, right? No. It's quite the opposite of Tony's usual voice. Howard provided for your life, but he never really did any things fathers do to earn that title. Pepper says sympathetically. Another realization goes off in Tony's head. He almost never calls Howard dad or father, not even when the older man was alive to hear him. He didn't love me, did he? His voice was thick with the epiphany. Pepper does not confirm or deny. She has her own opinions, but she can't answer that for him. All she can do is give him the facts, and let him make his own opinions. Instead of answering, she immediately envelops her partner in a hug, and he hides his face between her shoulder and chin. He doesn't like people seeing him cry. Howard told him he was weak. Stark men are made of iron. That phrase echoes in his head daily. What if Peter thinks of me the way I think of how— No! She cuts him off. Before that thought can be buried and planted. You are not like him. You show affection, and most importantly, you genuinely care for those you love. And it's true, he does. Even if he struggles to outwardly show it sometimes. But from that moment, he swears to try harder. And he realizes how he did both, providing for someone who loved him, between Howard and Jarvis. Providing and loving could go together, and Tony is determined to prove that to himself.